Tansi kia wao ni totimak. Hello my friends, how are you? Today I'm going to be showing you my new painting called Sacred Fire's Prophecy. It is the first in my new collection titled Otipemisoak, which brings you into my Métis family history. This painting is an anchor for that story, so I really wanted to go into depth with it. Otipemisoak means the people who own themselves, and this collection is meant to be a story of the sense of strength, resilience, and independence that my Indigenous ancestors had. So let me preface this with a bit about the footage. This was my first painting of my 12 paintings, and it was the first one with this new camera. And I was pretty optimistic, thinking I could just roll right into this without having problems, but I lost a ton of footage for a variety of reasons. I'm sorry that you're missing a lot. I will still make up for it by showing you what the finished painting looks like. And I promise my other videos I didn't lose as much footage as I did with this one. I was inspired to tell this story when I began reading books about Indigenous culture to help me learn about the history of our people. Many books were discussing the idea of the Seven Fires prophecy, which is passed down in the Anishinaabe culture. It was first written down in 1979 by Edward Benton Benai. He is one of the founders of the American Indian movement and wrote the Michif book, which chronicles the Anishinaabe way of life, as well as the Seven Fires prophecy. It is said that there came a time when a series of prophets came to the Anishinaabe people when they were living a full and peaceful life on the northeastern coast of North America. Each of the prophecies was called a fire, and each fire referred to a particular era in time. By reading the prophecies, we can learn about the history of the Anishinaabe people and the vision that they had for the future. Presently, the Anishinaabe people are known as the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Saulteaux people and live in the lands around the Great Lakes from Montreal to Saskatchewan, but some are in America as well. Basically, this was my way of trying to remember what the fires were and what happened during this time. My ancestors are from Saskatchewan, Manitoba, but I grew up knowing very little about Indigenous history. I mean, did they teach you anything in school? Because I learned more about Greek gods than I did about Indigenous culture, even though I was in a carrier class. I didn't know anything about the cultures that aren't from this actual area that I live in. I didn't know about the Anishinaabe people, the people I literally descend from. This was my way of trying to form a memory in my brain. Do you know how the Indigenous people migrated around the continent? Because Indigenous people tell stories like this one, that can help us learn how things were 900 years ago. The first three fires chronicle the start of the migration of the Anishinaabe people around 900 AD. Over the course of 500 years, three eras happen. Each one is represented here with a floral pattern. This is all pre-contact time, where the people are discovering how to harvest wild rice, and they're moving over to places like Manitoulin Island. I'm a Métis woman, and I'm descended from many Métis people. Our Métis ancestry goes back for hundreds of years. But before that, my ancestors were Anishinaabe or Nehiyao, which is, maybe you know, is Ojibwe and Cree. The fourth prophet was two who came as one. The first prophet told them that the light-skinned people would be known by the face that they wear, that if they come in brotherhood, a mighty nation would be formed. I see this as the Métis nation, which I represented with the infinity symbol. The second prophet spoke of warning, that the light-skinned people may wear the face of death, but it would look almost the same as the face of brotherhood. If they came bearing a weapon, if they seem to be suffering, beware. Behind this face is greed. You shall recognize the face of death if the rivers are poisoned and the fish unfit to eat. The fifth fire was marked by the prophecy that there will come among the people those who promise great joy and salvation. If the people accept this promise and abandon the old ways, the struggle will continue for many generations. This promise is false, and it will nearly destroy those who accept it. I understand this as the role that the church had in the colonization of these lands. I've reflected this with an image of two leaves looking identical. One has white flowers while the other green. One has red berries while the other has red drops of blood. In the land where I live, we have a delicious spring edible known as false Solomon seal. But we also have a poisonous lookalike, known as Indian hellebore. It takes a keen eye to spot the difference. The sixth fire was described as a time when the people would become aware that they have been deceived by the promises of the fifth fire. that many of the children would be taken away from the teachings, and that the elders would lose their purpose in life and become sick. The cup of life will become the cup of grief. I've represented this with a flower hiding in the protected leaves, which are being coated in oil. I hear this time as the time of the residential schools. It is said that the seventh prophet was younger than the others and had a glow in their eyes, and they said, "In the time of the seventh fire, a new people will emerge. They will retrace their steps to find what was left by the trail. Their steps will take them to the elders, who they will ask to guide them on their journey." I've represented this with a purple flower. The purple to represent the spiritual, and the orange to represent the pain of the past. Finally, many places speak of the eighth fire, wherein the new people will be given a choice between two roads, that one will be lush and inviting, while the other will be scorched. The test is to choose neither road, but instead turn back and retrace their steps and reclaim the wisdom of those who came before them. For the eighth fire, I've chosen to depict it with a white eagle, diving back along the path from which we've come. Finally, we have a breastfeeding mother in the lower left-hand corner. She anchors the entire piece, because without our mothers, we do not have a next generation, a next sacred fire. For me, it was through the sacred act of motherhood that I began my cultural reawakening. So here, I honor all the mothers who have come before me. Through their love, they have helped the next generation to move on forward on their path. The prophecy is available for all to view, and I'll link some sources down below so you can check it out yourself. And I just want to say I'm not an expert in Anishinaabe history, but I did find the story very compelling because I think it not only touches on where we've come from, but also where we're going, and it kind of gives us some advice on what to do. To look back to the elders, to go back where we've come, to pick up what was left along the trail. I think that's really sound advice. So thank you so much for watching. This painting is up on my website if you would like to get a print, a card, or even the original painting. I want to thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for Métis Art and like if you enjoyed this story. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Kawapamitin mina.